Hi and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Friday, July 30th, 2021, and today's topic is called Looking Around. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening July 16th through the 25th, 2021, and it includes Looking Up Down Under, the Australian SkyFiles 3, where we welcome the return of some wondrous and fascinating images coming in from YowieGrrrowlz in eastern Australia. So a big heartfelt thanks going out to YowieGrrrowlz. Now, before we get into the sky observations, I'd like to say good day, osio, hao, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, kedu, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, dzień dobry, konnichiwa, dobrohonya, annyeonghaseyo, boa tarde, dober den, aloha winila, kalimera, guten dag, and good day. And this starter image is a group, or also known as a congregation stand or wedge of white ibis, or ibises, on a path to foraging in Miami, Florida. And what I love about this scene is that they all have such a unique personality. Even though they kind of roam all together looking for food, they just really have their very defined, unique, independent personality, and I love it. And speaking of that, independent, defined personality, look at this one. I love the spirit of this bird right here on the fence, I gotta say. So even though we might be, a part of a group, if we just kind of use this loosely as a metaphor, our nose might be really kind of to the ground and consumed in the details, so to speak, and we only see stuff from a very myopic range, perspective. It's just a nice reminder here. It's so important to break out of that and see things from a, larger perspective. And keep in mind, these guys can even fly and see things in a vastly broader, range too. And it's just so important to do that. So this also reminds me of being, quote-unquote, on the fence about a topic. Usually it means one is in conflict, divided between the heart space and the mind and the brain. So if one just simply lets the heart space or one's absolute inner knowing lead, then that one also just sees in like the inner sense that there is no fence, there's no need for it. So no need for confusion. The clarity is within. All right, well, let's get into the sky observations. So whether you are new or returning to the channel, thank you so much for being here. I welcome you. And if you are returning, you may want to skip ahead because I'm just going over now for anybody who's new, just some of the basics of what I'm doing on this channel and why and how. So I'm just going about my daily business, usually in the area of Miami, Florida, looking up at the skies wherever I go, and something might just call or jump out to me even on a sixth sense level. Just something might not feel right in the sky, and I take a picture, and then later I find out why I had that feeling. So it's either direct observation or, by sense. So what I do is I take the original photo and I enhance it. And enhancement simply means that I've edited attributes of the photo, such as brightness, contrast, and color saturation, and that's pretty much it. And when I apply that, just little nudges, it doesn't even take much, playing around with the contrast and brightness, even just a little bit, and color saturation, a whole world of new things pops up in any given photo. And that's because these camera phones, I'm just using an older one, have such a vaster range of photo and light sensitivity than we do with our human eye. So anyway, I just noticed strange things, anomalies, things you can't quite explain, and also just beautiful images, things happening up in our skies. And I invite you to do that too every day as well. Just really observe your surroundings and see if you see anything or feel anything strange and take a picture. Now, I'm labeling each photo as strange cloud activity in quotes. The cloud in quotes just simply means there's suspected cloaking craft activity happening up there in the skies. And in my previous shows, I have some really clear-cut examples to the point where I could even sketch lines over them. If you go look at a show called Awe-Filled Sunset, you'll see that actually in the first half and in the second half. There are things that popped up that I could literally use sketch tools and draw over it to show right angles and machine parts popping out of cloak and craft. In this case, I don't think we have too much of that in this show, but just kind of look around, see what you see. Now, in this case, the cloaking material that I'm referring to cloak the craft is just what I'm going to use as my go-to. Is called plasma. It just simply means something heavier and denser than water, vapor, that helps, hangs in the sky forever and can work effectively as a cloaking material. Is it something else? Yes, it could be, but that's just going to be my go-to reference. Now, also, when I say craft, I mean something that could be 3D, that you could theoretically walk up to it, knock on it, and touch it. It could be something very ephemeral and phantom-like, very interdimensional, or it could be something 3D that happens to be moving in and out of state, or it could be just some actual supernatural phenomenon we don't quite understand, like sky wisps or air elementals, which I've touched on in earlier shows. Now, all of this to say, too, is that craft origin, I'm saying it's ET in nature, because all of the things that I've been seeing are either too massive in scale or too intricate in how they cloak and come and go to be simply of human hand, so to speak. So that's just my opinion right now. I do know the difference between something that is human crafted, and again, just the scale on some of these things are just so huge, that there's just no way it could be a simple human invention. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, there's also going to be a range in different color signatures coming up. Pay attention when you see the red and pinks, and reds and pinks, and I do put in the description box below what could be generating that, and you may also have more ideas beyond that as well. Anyway, let's just get into the show. So on the right hand side, we'll just focus there on the enhanced version. I notice a lot of disturbed activity happening, and I'm like, what's going on? And usually that means craft is appearing, coming or going. And when we look to the right, first of all, A and B are just weird ragtag. It's not even cloud. It's like fallen apart. It's not even got a cohesive shape like cumulus clouds in the if decades pass on this planet. But beyond that, look at what the heck is going on here. We've got straight lines with density and shadow to this thing. Very clear lines. So I'm going to say, and this one, look how sharp that line is and how even that edge is on it. So to me, this is a cloak and craft. I don't know if it's emerging out of somewhere, or maybe it's even multiple craft, sticking onto something else. I don't know. See what you think. And also in the show, you'll see I'm going to have sometimes more questions than I have answers. So a lot of this just is presenting to you to see what you think about any of these. Oh, and also here too, at the edge of this thing, what are these? They look like little cylinders, perfect cylinders straight up and down coming off of this thing. So to me, there's a lot of artificial activity. This thing is poking out too. It looks like possibly a machine part. See what you think is going on in there, though. All right, this one is just strange in that I noticed we've got parallel lines, of ragtag kind of quote-unquote cloud material. Down here is completely an artificial cloud formation, so it's got a density of like this mist. And I'd often phrase at the edges, I've been observing these for a while now, and they're completely artificially created. And this even looks like a fluke, like a whale tail, and then it's a part of this bigger system, which is also so dense and moves across like a blanket to totally wipe out our ability to see what's happening with the setting sun. And I use sun in quotes because this is toward the evening looking northwest. And the sun in quotes, look at some of my previous shows. It's just talking about artificial tech up in the sky that's concealing our sun, basically, our true sun. Have a look around there and look into the concept of solar simulator and patents that were pulled for it in the 1960s, possibly earlier. And also look at other sky and earth observation channels, sky watching and earth observation channels on YouTube, where people all over the world are just, like you and myself, are just making some direct observations on what the heck is going on in our skies these days. There's so many changes. Okay, anyway, let's keep going. So we're going to look at this with some enhancement, and look what pops up now. We have a line going horizontal and a line going vertical. Hold on, I'm trying to grab my cursor here. So we have a near right angle. So that's nothing that's natural in the skies when you come up with right angles or geometries or, symmetrical objects that aren't just a, basic circle. So we've got something that, has a straight edge here as well. So now it's kind of like flaring out to be like a trapezoid or something. Anyway, that's just not a standard natural condition in the sky. We're also looking at different signatures of reddish color, golds, all different colors all over the place, when you keep in mind that the quote-unquote sun is supposed to be setting right behind where this dark shadow of artificial cloud mass is. Anyway, let's keep moving along. I also noticed in that same scene we got this weird cloud. And again, I'll put that in quotes, moving along, very low in the atmosphere too. And then we've got these parallel lines. We jump up to 8.1, and these are imprints of triangular forms that look like they have cloaking all bunched up around whatever's going on in here. Anyway, we also have some choppy fuzziness, and we're going to see that coming up in the Australian photos as well. Whenever you see to the naked eye even, things are just kind of choppy and fuzzy. I just call that staccato cloud, just to reference that term, that it's very discontinuous, very choppy-like, even though everything else is in clear focus to the human eye and to the camera. So we're going to zoom in on this thing, and I don't get it too much because a lot of it is pretty fuzzy, and I have better examples coming up. But, we see these bright objects popping up out of here, where whenever I see a bright white object, and I've said this plenty on other shows, or a crystalline structure, kind of appearing in front of something that's very monochromatic, either grayscale or different colors, but then we get like a white, or something clear white, brighter than everything else. To me, that's a machine part sticking out, or, maybe this is a little craft in and of its own right that just happens to be coming across in the foreground of this thing. So I'm going to say there's cloak and craft going on in here too, because this is just a very dark mass, but yet we have different level of like, density of what I'm going to call cloaking material wafting around this thing. Anyway, like I said, there's going to be better examples coming up of what I'm talking about there. So in this overall scene, I'm just laying in letters too. I don't think I mentioned that earlier for anyone who's new, as just kind of key highlights of points to talk about so I don't miss some of them. In some photos, there's going to be so much going on that it's really kind of impossible to get to all of the potential cloak and craft in any given photo. So in this case, something seems suspect up here at F, like almost even triangular shape and little triangular peaks happening along here. Weird stuff happening all over the place, so we're going to look at it with enhancement. So F.1, we do see a triangular shape, also little peaks of triangles happening along here. A.1, just an odd shape, that's not a natural cloud formation. C.1 here as well, something strange is happening. So let's keep looking and zoom in. And here's that weird one at A.2 now. Look at that. That's not a natural cloud or any kind of natural thing in the sky. And then I'm not going to go through every single thing, but here too, we just get a weird texture happening in here. It looks like something's cloaking underneath, and we're just seeing like ridges and things popping up. We got some real straight lines. So again, that's just no cloud formation. Now we'll switch to look to the south, again toward the evening, and we get this weird thing, strewn about through the sky. So look on the right-hand side. What is this thing? It has very much like a bone, like a spine feel to it. But, looks like maybe there's an opening on one end, and an object popping off from it on the other, and everything is so choppy, like that staccato cloud effect I was talking about. So we're going to look at this thing again. Here it is, and now it has like a companion thing happening over here, phenomenon. And then when we look at this companion phenomenon at C.1, it's either like a cloak and craft that's in its own little toroidal or force field of some type, or it's a craft being called out, so to speak, by sky wisp phenomenon, and I cover that in other shows. So here we do have like this teardrop shape or leaf shape with like a stem and like double stem coming off of it. So I got to say that's got to be some kind of craft with, each with a leg, symmetrical about this thing. And then we look at this little thing again, and I don't really get at too much more what's going on here, but the whole scene just screams of artificial activity happening in there, or supernatural activity combined. Now we're looking west at about 8:20 in the evening, and what caught my attention here was this burning red glow, and yet it stays contained within what looks like, again, an artificial cloud system blanketing and covering the sunset itself. And in this case, if this is going to glow red and that is the sun's source, it would be shooting beams out all over the sky. And yet we have a white washout, almost like this is a big backdrop in a theater stage, and somebody's just putting a stage light up to glare out and hide out, the red color here. Then we get this weird configuration of totally artificial cloud. That's not a cumulus cloud, and it's so dang low in the sky. So let's look at this with some enhancement. Bam, you see the red color. And look at this whole thing. I'm not even calling that a cloud. We have staccato activity, which, by the way, I didn't mention why it's so fuzzy and choppy. I suspect it's because either there's local cloak and craft, which generates electromagnetic wave or other types of wave or sound frequencies to shake things up, or it's like a bigger ship above that's generating, the waves down to kind of mask and hide things with cloaking. I don't know how it works exactly. See what you think or what you feel with all of this. To me, we've got stuff happening here. This looks like a cloak and craft shooting off up out of this thing. There's a weird little triangular bit there. Look at this curve. That's a perfect curve that doesn't happen in a natural cloud system. And it's connected to this bigger assembly and going off this way. Or this is like a bigger, like box-like thing on like a cord, or like a hose, and then connected into this triangle, connected into whatever's hiding in here. See what you think is going on. It's pretty crazy. All right, now we're going to zoom in into that color at the horizon, and look at that. It's all contained. So that means there's like a mist or particulate all in here that has the ability to be shot with white light to totally mask the fact that this is a bright, bright red object, or there's just a local red object hanging out in here. So that could be too. And to me, then that would be some type of craft activity. Now, within that, we also see shapes. So this looks like a pie wedge shape in here with a couple other blocky things. So I'm going to say that this entire blanket of artificial stuff is totally concealing a bunch of cloak and craft. And then I'm zooming in on that thing where I was talking about the pie shape just to see without color if we can see anything in a better way. The only thing I get to is 8.2. We see the top of a triangle here and a top of one here. The very solid form with cloaking material in front of it. So again, I'm going to say that's cloak and craft. As always, see what you think with any of this stuff. Now this one, we've got this weird artificial activity as I showed before. And then we have these tracings. I've covered this on another show too, where we get these weird smoky tracings. Again, those are not any type of natural cloud form. Not even smoke of fire. That's not natural. It's, swirling in like this. And then we see this weird color emanating. It's like it's catching from something else, or it's just something emanating there local. I'm not sure. But it looks pretty spectacular with some enhancement. And as I always say, I love the backlit conditions where something is misty and we got light shining from behind that so I can see these things really, clearly. So we're going to zoom in a little bit. Now C gets very interesting if you watch that, in addition to the color happening here when we zoom in. Okay, look at C.1. So to me, this is a craft, maybe interdimensional in nature or 3D coming in and out, or it just has a heavy veiling of particulate in front of it in the atmosphere. But regardless, it looks to me like this is a more or less triangular shape, with that being the front. And there's like 2 straight ridges on it, and then like 2 trailing things coming from the back of it. So is it docked to an arm that's docked up to something up here? That could be happening. See what you think. I also see things and objects in the back here that tell me that there's cloak and craft going on in there as well. And then look at that extraordinary color range. It's just beautiful, whatever is going on. And then that disintegrates and breaks down a little bit, and then we get this. What the heck is going on at F? Okay, and we still have C is persisting there, even if it's fading. I don't know if it's like going into another dimension or something. So let's look at this with some enhancement. We get a very straight line here, and then let's really watch what happens to F. You can also see what's going on with C. You see these 2 parallel lines, very straight and rigid. That implies definitely intelligent design. Weird stuff's happening here too, where this looks like a skinny solid object with cloaking coming up around it. But why is this stuff like going vertically up? It looks like there could be a cloaking craft here as well. I don't know what's going on out here at the same time. It's all just very bizarre. We don't have a consistent red band. We're just catching red light here and here like a shadow. So to me, these have to be local objects creating that red glow. But see what you think. We're going to zoom in a little bit more. Things get weird. We see a point. We see definite clear shapes. And then we see a little bit of like cloaking material maybe, or just reflection off of light. Just so strange. What is this? Is this the front like of a bow of a ship, or the back end? We have almost, it's not a, it's an obtuse, angle. It's not a right angle, but it's wider. Anyway, just such weird stuff happening here. So let's look at that F feature. Bam, when we brighten it up to kind of clear away the mist, so to speak. Look at this. We see an object with more like cloaking material there. And if we go up to F.3, we see it even better. Look at this. That's a harder object with like plasma wafting in front of it. What is going on here? But to have such a straight line, that's no cloud formation. And then let's look at this similar area. We've got F, looks like a footprint, the bottom of a shoe that walked through mud. When we look at this with enhancement, it has like a pattern to it. So is this one craft, docking on here? Actually, is that craft we just saw, but now we see a different type of cloak on it? Or are these individual objects kind of, huddled in a grouping? I don't know. I tend to think that's one overall craft that is cloaking in an unusual way. And then we look at E, D, and C. We've got all these weird things moving parallel into the scene. This is now not even parallel to that. It's like in its own very own angle. And then this is not true horizontal, yet this is. So, this isn't just clouds moving across with a breeze. There's too many different things happening at once. And especially when they go off and like spring off on their own angle, that implies there's intelligent design in there in cloak and craft. Now, let's switch gears. We were in Miami, and now we're going back out to the outback, so to speak, to Australia. And now we're going to go to the portion of the show where we have very kind contributions of photos and images by YowieGrrrowlz in Eastern Australia. So I'm only calling all of these July 25th Australian time sunset. I'm not sure as to the direction, so just I've taken them as I've received them, and then I'll enhance them and call out some highlights of them. So let's walk through and see what we've got going on out there. And I love the diversity and the differences in the Australian landscape versus what we've got going on in Miami. Although we do have one rainbow eucalyptus tree nearby, and it's probably close to 200 feet, so I do feel a loose connection to Australia. But anyway, here we go. So here, YowieGrrrowlz is looking up, and we see, I can see right away why YowieGrrrowlz took this photo. So we've got a straight line here, straight line here. We've got triangular shapes kind of happening, an elliptical shape, kind of an imprint in the sky. And so let's look at it with enhancement. Now, when I went through several enhancements, sometimes they don't readily pick up, and sometimes they do. So in this case, it didn't so much. But what happened is we see an imprint of something, with these, again, straight lines, almost a right angle, a little bit obtuse. And then, we have like, looks like a depression point here, like the outer rim of a ring, and then a straight curved line. So there's enough weirdness going on in here to tell me something is cloaking. But let's look at some other examples as well. So here we've got like that staccato cloud effect going on up in here. I even see like a cross imprint across here. It looks like the head of a Phillips screw, actually. Let's look at this whole thing with enhancement. So I'm going to be looking at areas B and A in particular on this one. There's going to be more happening in here than I can get to. So again, I invite you on your leisure to look at any of these photos on your own time and find out more that I might have glossed over. And if I did pass over something that you really want to see explained in a future show, just let me know in the comment section below and I'll be happy to do it. So here we go, 8.1. This is like a walnut shape if you see what I'm seeing. A pointed ellipse here. We've got cloaking material all over it. It looks like it's poised, like sitting on something, which I would suspect is a bigger cloaking craft in this dark mass because it's just resting. It's not flying through the air. And then we have like a sphere with some fuzzy stuff like cloak out over it as well. And then at B.1, it always captures my attention. I think I mentioned it earlier when I see a bright white point or if it's crystalline with a darker background, whether it has a color or grayscale or whatever, sticking out. So that's either a little sensor or object or instrument, or it's a machine part coming off of this thing. So in this case, I think it's a little object that flies about and does something in the atmosphere. Maybe it's taking atmospheric readings. I don't know. But there's a little companion thing down here with a little twisted trail at the bottom. Looks like it's leaving behind. So let's look at that a little more zoomed in now. This is going to look extremely bitmappy if you have this on any device bigger than just like a handheld camera phone or something. If you have this up on a laptop, it's going to be very bitmappy. But just know that, this is a symmetrical object with like a stick, again, looks like a leaf with a stem poking out, but it's symmetrical, and we got shadow on each side. So that tells me that's an object. And it looks like it left a vapor trail or something behind it. I don't know what this thing is, but again, that's an object with something symmetrical happening about it. So I'm going to call it artificial tech. Now, this scene is interesting too. So we've got this going on with the sun, which looks very strange. And then we have a few other little highlights to call out here. So we're going to look first, we just have some strange activity happening in here at A. B, this looks like this white shape. It has a division line between whatever's happening down here, a very clear-cut line. And then C.1 is its own little standalone chunk. I'm calling that a cloaking craft. We'll see it a little bit better in some other views. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. And then D.1 looks standalone too with some cloaking material in front of it. Look at this. We've got this sharp line coming down at a weird angle. There's a lot going on in this scene. So with some kind of a intense enhancement here, I wanted to pull out what's going on with the quote-unquote sun. Look up here in the upper left. That's zooming in a little more. And the H.2 element is, what is this? Is this two elements passing each other? Or is this one object? But I am calling that a cloaking craft because nothing is diving down at an angle when everything else is doing something completely different. It's like a standalone object. Anyway, there's a lot of strangeness going on in this photo. Have a look at this one on your own and more, when you have a little more time, and see what you can see. Okay, this one gets weird because we have these very clear horizontal bands. Everything is very choppy again, which to me implies there's craft above doing that, or behind whatever we can't see here with the cloak material. and then our artificial cloud as well. So, you know, we got a fuzz out happening over here. You know, let's look at this with enhancement. So I see kind of a triangular form here loosely. I see a very strong clear edge here of an imprinted triangle, you know, where that would be the point, and that's a line going up to a peak. And then again, we got this strange pattern happening here local. So I'm going to call that all craft, cloak and craft activity. All right, this one, we're going to jump to the enhanced version, but we just see lines going this way, lines coming down this way, other lines coming this way, choppiness here, just everything is so disjunct. And then we have a triangular form here, you know, standalone. So what the heck is going on in the sky? You know, we go to this view and we see different color signatures even. If we have, you know, this intense yellow happening down here, why does it then just pop up here and then goes nowhere else? That doesn't make sense. And we have some strange tracings. They look almost like overlays or underlays of different dimensional stuff happening on different levels. I don't know, it's very strange. I've seen this only once before in Miami. And then we look here, we have these like striations, looks like a cloaking technique. We've got very clean edges here with shadow, parallel. So it's either one very elongated pointed ellipse separated by this spacing, this groove, and then like two other like chunky, like almost look like potatoes, cloak and craft, because they're solid object with cloaking material around them. Or this is overall one craft, you know, see what you see in it. I think it is overall one craft, and we're looking at the bottom that maybe has a different type of cloak than the top. These looks like objects here sitting on the top, if that's like a deck of something on the top side. Anyway, we got weird movement. These aren't normal clouds. You know, just all kinds of strangeness. And then this thing gets really interesting. I didn't call it out specifically. I should have. We've got something that starts to be like a ring-like form coming around this bright white. There's even like a hole in here, a depression. And then this even looks like the edge, if you see my cursor, of a pipe or cylinder. So I think that's a cloak and craft. And we might just be seeing part of it, and the rest is over here in shadow. All right, now I just washed this out quite a bit. Something weird happening here too. But just to get at any other objects we might have missed before, and here's one. So this has its own color signature in the yellow-green range, and you know, dark shadow. This looks like triangular. I think it's almost like a pontoon thing where you have the front of this thing is disc-like, and then that leg in the back or in the front, you know, they're equal and parallel. So I'm going to call that something with intelligent design. Is that the whole craft, or is it just something sticking out of this intense cloaking material? I think it is just maybe the bow of something sticking out of the material. Anyway, see what you think. We also got strange stuff down here. This has a clean, long edge. It looks like it has dimension to it. That looks like a craft in its own right as well. And skinny things kind of happening, cloaking behind here too. Oh, and I don't know if I already gave myself a disclaimer. I think I did. I am recording outside, and that is not my dog. Okay, anyhow, here we go, another scene. Now this one gets interesting because we have a different color signature. It looks like very artificial cloud activity happening down here. Something very specific happening over here at C. Weird little detail at B. We really got to look at it with enhancement. So B.1, there's like very, you know, detail happening over here. C.1, we have a very clear line of something going down this way with a pocket of space in there. So I don't know if this is just cloaking material around a bigger structure or what else is happening in there. But then we get to D.1. We got a lot of intricate detail happening in there, very different in character from everything else going on around it. And we have very strange things happening in here. So this leads me to believe that at 8.1, we're looking at the bow or the front of a ship. And I believe this whole thing is that. It might even have kind of an organic design to it. It kind of reminds me of a blue whale in a slight way. Anyway, let's look at this, I think, one more time. Yes, we zoom in again. And so here's that, you know, the point or the bow of the ship that I was talking about. It looks like there's a triangular craft or something in front of it, or it's an appendage or a feature of this thing. Again, I think we got cloaking material sitting on, if this would be the deck. We even have a clear hole here. That's not a bird or anything. That is a hole. And so that is a feature of something happening up here. So again, I'm going to say that maybe this is a part of a, if it's not the bridge or the, you know, command deck, it's maybe this thing is much bigger, and that would be back here somewhere. I don't know. Maybe this is just weaponry on the top. That's what I'm suspecting, and that the bridge would really be back here. But see what you think. But that definitely has a craft-like feel. No question about it. I don't know any cumulus clouds, cirrus, strato, whatever. Nothing looks like that. See what you think. Oh, and also we got weird little things happening here. Look at this groove making its way through the sky. It looks like there's an object here with some material happening in front of it. There's just all kinds of strange happening in this scene. The more you look, the more you'll find. Now this is interesting. So this is a beautiful view out in the wild here. And we're going to look at the sky part in a minute, but I just wanted to, I couldn't help but enhance just to get a, show the beautiful color signatures that pop up with enhancement when we look at the ground. So we got the reddish color popping out and the greens. Just thought it was fun, a fun exercise on how eyes, I think in the future, we are going to be able to see more into this range. Anyway, let's go to the sky bit of that. So we look up here. Again, something a little strange and funky is going on with the quote-unquote sun. Look at my previous shows to see my thoughts on that. And look, we have a dark object at C.1 diving down on a sharp angle. And again, that's no natural cloud. It's very even, straight line. I don't know what this little bit is at B.1. We're going to zoom in. This looks like a cloaking craft with stuff going in front of it. And here as well, these little bits. It's just pretty bizarre. So we're going to zoom in. Again, look at this. This is not a natural cloud form diving straight down like that on angle. This is not a natural cloud form either. Look at it. It's very intricate. It almost looks like jewelry. I mean, these two little ends are parallel, and then it has a ring coming around this way. It even looks like it has like a puff of smoke, so it's either ejecting smoke out or that's the little trail it's leaving. These even have perfect circles, so I'm wondering if that is ejecting smoke, no joke, or cloaking material to mask out what's going on with the quote-unquote sun. And we have a weird object kind of happening here at 8.2 with some weird little features in there. Again, I'll leave this one for you to look on look more at it on your own time. And then also we get this weird thing coming in perpendicular to this thing, and that would not happen in a natural cloud system. So this perpendicular thing diving down is a little more crystalline in nature with some prominent features. This is symmetrical. It's got like these two little legs on either side. Don't know what that is, if it's a craft or an instrument or what. See what you think. Alright, this one we're just going to jump ahead to the enhanced version, but you can kind of see a lot of movement happening in this sky. And then here we go. Wow. Okay, 8.1, and we'll look at it at each of these. So at 8.1, we have a hard, an edge, a clear edge, crisp edge on something that looks like it has symmetry, geometrical object. And this is either another object or a groove that it has left in the sky, which is covered by this and kind of continues on this way. Then we have B.1. What are these things? I mean, literally, I'm asking the question. I know it's rhetorical since none of you can answer back, but what are these things? And it looks like kind of connected to whatever this is, which is also not a natural cloud form. And then we have these things kind of popping up, and C.1 looks like a curved triangle with a curved side of it. I mean, there's just all kinds of strange happening in here. Have fun looking more at this on your own. All right, let's go straight to what's going on with this scene in the enhanced version. So here, right away, we see 8.1, bam, once again. It's the only bright spot that is not a lens flare. In a only bright spot amidst all this other stuff going on. So that's either a little sensor or instrument floating on its own, or it is a machine part that we're just, seeing catch some sunlight or something that the rest of it's cloaked beyond. Which might be the case because I see little points popping out, and this looks very suspicious here. Then we have B.1. This overall form looks really strange, and it's got a big dividing line right around it, so that is some type of object cloaking. Here we have a big dark mass, if you follow my cursor, with very strange kind of, it's not even cloud, coming around it. So I do think this is a more massive cloaking craft. And then we've got, again, this long, straight thing here. To me, that's a cloaking craft as well. See what you think, though? Here we are looking at this scene. We're going to go straight to the enhanced version, so keep your eye out on C and a few other places when we go ahead to the enhancement, and there we go. So look at this. The color on this is different, the density. You can even see wafting material coming in front of it, cloaking material. Is this the front or the back? I don't know. It looks like it has a little stick projecting out. I actually got a similar one of these in my previous show, something with the lightning show, the epic, what did I call it? Something like the epic nighttime backyard sky battle, something like that. Anyway, take a look there because there's a very clear shot when the lightning flashed that I got of a triangular shape with like a stick heading out the back of it. Anyway, B.1 looks like a sphere with like some kind of cloaking pattern going over it because we've got these little striations even. And then 8.1 looks like a triangular form. And then we've got the yellow glow over here while we have intense bright white everywhere else, which just doesn't make sense for there not to be, unless it's artificial activity going on in there. We also have some weird things happening down here with a very straight line. Again, to me that implies, or more than implies, cloak and craft. Oh, let me go back one. So now look at 8.1 over here, just putting some more enhancement and taking out color to kind of try to find out what the heck is going on. Look at this. It's got straight lines where that's supposed to be the quote-unquote sun. Look at that. Even a cloak, you know, straight lines, so that there's got to be something very artificial happening around there. All right, let's look at this one. We got A, B, and C. So with enhancement, this is what we get. And I can't get it too much, but look at this. This has a point to it. You know, this looks like a very like diamond-shaped thing, or two diamonds stuck next to each other. Maybe a little pipe coming this way. So I'm going to say this looks like a trail coming up from behind a cloak and craft here. B.1 is also an enigma. You know, there's something's happening in here, especially at the bright points, the burn points. And then look at C.1. There's a straight line, which looks like it has a definite design to it. You know, so to me, we got 1, 2, 3, or maybe one enormous cloak and craft going on. Oh, and with any of these, I don't know if I mentioned it, no fear at all is involved with any of this. When anybody I deal with or myself taking pictures outside, if there's a bad feeling, I would let you know, and then you just go inside. You know, if you see or feel something in the sky that just doesn't feel happy or feels ominous, then just, you know, promptly go back inside. But I've only had that happen maybe twice in the past 3 years where I thought, oh, that cloud just feels bad. And so otherwise, everything is just kind of, again, exciting, and kind of, I just look at it with childlike wonder sometimes of all of this stuff that's actually observable if we really know what we're looking at, what to look for, and using the simple enhancement technology on these photos. We're getting at some extraordinary things that we never knew, you know, were up in the skies. Anyhow, now we're going to look at this view, and what's strange is overall we got a pretty hard edge here and leading back here, but within that there's like individual pieces and things happening. But for now we'll just look at A and B with some enhancement, and you know, again, just feels like with all this staccato, choppy activity that things are brewing, so to speak, here in A and in B. This looks like it has a triangular shape. And then down here we have, again, these like echoing objects with sharp points on them, like pointed ellipse or something within this overall strange cloud mass. So to me, again, that's got to be a whole host of cloaking activity in there. Cloak and craft. All right, this one, we're going to pay more, well, we're going to look at A, B, these white streaks, and C, see what's going on in there. And here, look at this, at 8.1, that's like a rectangle on angle with a triangle next to it. So come on, that's got to be 2 cloak and craft or 1 overall thing, I don't know. Then we're going to look here too, look at the echoes, like these things are an angle, while this one's coming straight across. This overall thing looks like a cloak and craft to me, where we've got solid parts, and then look at that. That's too perfect and too geometric to be a cloud, a natural cloud. Something's going on in here too. Anyway, back to B.1 and C.1, we're going to turn our focus there. So there's a hole, or like a little crater or depression or a ring happening here, with something popping out here, very sharp edge. So again, that's not natural. Actually, it even looks like something is sticking out of cloak, because look here, it's almost like this is also a prong at the front that's parallel, and that we're just seeing part of it emerge out of this heavy cloaking stuff. And then we have this, I don't know what's going on here. It might be a standalone thing with a trail. So we're going to zoom in and take a look, and here we go. Look, you cannot not see this ring or depression. And again, this kind of prong piercing through this heavy cloaking material. And again, I think we're seeing the fuzz out of the sister prong to it, you know, across from it, parallel. So I think that's an overall craft in there. And then here we get a piece. So I don't know if this is part of a bigger craft cloaking or its own thing, but that looks like the cap or the top of something, even with a cross pattern in there and a little thing poking out here. So I don't know, make of it what you will, but I'm starting to think that this is overall, when you follow this clear arc to, I think that is overall one bigger craft, kind of partially cloaked. All right, we're going to zoom in on those 2 bits I was looking at, and I'm removing all color just to see if we can look at it with a different way visually. Sometimes the brain, pulls things together differently when you either put color in a black and white or take it out. So here we go. Again, we got pretty clear line here. That was that depression I was seeing. It just looks too perfect in some cases and designed. It's definitely not cloud. And then here we go to that thing that I thought was like a cap with a cross on it, and I still see that. So whether that's a standalone little thing with a vapor trail coming behind it, or it's a machine part that we can see popping up out of cloak, I'm not sure. See what you think. All right, just I think a few more to go. So we'll look at this overall scene. And then this one gets interesting. So look at this. Again, we got intense yellow gold, but then it's just like, boom, wiped out. Like it doesn't carry up through the sky at all. Instead, we get this like white, blue, intense stuff happening up in here. And I labeled this on purpose so I wouldn't forget. So the double A, lowercase a, and double B, it's just to show me that this is, to me, part of a massive sky imprint. So we got a clear line coming down this way, clear line coming down this way. Could it be even bigger than that? Yes. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but that's to me where all arrows are pointing down, is that this is a bigger craft or imprint with some cloaking material coming in front of it. And then again, we get these weird, movements. These are going this way, as this movement's coming down perpendicular to it, and all chaotic. Nothing about this says natural cloud system. And then we'll look at this scene. And in this one, again, B.1, I'm going to go back. To me, that's one all overall craft, because we get here and it gets pretty solid. And then we got these weird things kind of coming in front of it. And then at 8.1 gets very interesting. So we've got a little hole here, depression, a little hole here, a very weird crystalline structure to this thing, but nonetheless seems like a cloaking craft. And then we're going to zoom in on that piece, and here you see the hole much more clearly. Weird little nubs and things popping up out of this thing with dimension to them. So again, I gotta say, that's got to be some type of cloaking craft. Okay, this scene gets real interesting. So we have this element to the left, this little puff thing on its own, and something happening up here. So we look with enhancement, and this is what we get. What is going on here? We've got this thing. What are these things popping up off the ends? It looks like a solid, though, with like the cloaking material going around this. This looks like a C shape, actually. And we got this bulbous thing happening over here. And then this looks like a almond shape or lemon shaped craft with cloaking around it. Looks like it's zooming up in this direction. And then here, this, again, looks like this bigger, maybe darker, triangular sky imprint happening above with a bunch of staticky cloaking material in front of it. See what you think, though. We're going to zoom in. There's that little weird thing. Looks like it has mass to it with cloaking material all over it. And the backlighting is what's helping us see it so clearly. And then again, what is going on over here? Again, if you have any fun ideas, whether they're wild and fantastical or based on logic of what could be going on in this scene, feel free to let me know in the comment section below if you are so guided. All right, here's another view of a scene that we already looked at, but I just want to look at it again, see if we see anything. And in this case, look at that, perfect elliptical form going on a weird angle, this thing too. All of this looks like it's diving in, not by coincidence, toward the sun, doesn't it? And this is happening in front. Again, to me, this has got to be cloaking craft activity. Okay, we're going to look at this scene, and especially with enhancement, here we go. This is like a well or a crater or a depression happening here. B.1 is that like crystalline object that we were looking at earlier. And then look at, we got this weird like doubled effect on the quote-unquote sun. Okay, this one has just all kinds of weird patterning to it. Again, not a natural cloud. And when we look at it with enhancement, look at this. This is perfect geometry. What it is exactly, I have no idea. But look at this whole assembly. Just does not look like a natural cloud. And up here we have, kind of mirrored diamonds, diamond shape happening in there. Just really strange. Very chaotic with that staccato cloud effect. So to me, again, we've got some wave activity emanating from some type of cloaking craft to disturb the atmosphere. And then we'll take a look at this view, and we'll go here. And really what pops out is this element for me. There's a lot of other stuff going on in here, but this is all it'll cover. Not only do we have this ring thing popping up this way, where I see the tops of two perfect semicircles, or little tube ends, tops of like two tubes. So to me, this is a cloak and craft with the point popping out like would be there, or it's an element of a much bigger craft. Hard to say. But here I see 1, 2, 3, these 3 regularized features, look very designed. The way it arcs around, there's just with the dividing groove, all of it just says it's been machined or touched with intelligence. And again, I think that's advanced ET technology that is riding around in these things. Anyway, that is it for now. So this is the photo of the day and the close of the show. So thank you for hanging out here a while. And this is just a nice northern cardinal or red cardinal sitting on a chain link fence. We have a funny bird on a fence theme in this show. But in this case, the cardinal is known to be a heaven-sent messenger of love. And so, I think there's a little phrase somebody coined that, when the red cardinal is here, your angels are near, or something like that. Anyway, I wish everybody a gorgeous day or evening wherever you are around the world. And to wish you, as always, tremendous peace and love. And again, thank you, YowieGrrrowlz, for the beautiful Australian portion of the show. And take care, everybody. Best wishes. Bye.